My mom didn't raise her voice when she erased me from the family. She stood at the kitchen counter, breaking a biscuit into her tea, not even looking at me. "You're dead to me now," she said. "Don't call. Don't show up." I don't know, words didn't sound angry, they sounded tidy. Like she had been waiting to put me away for years. My chest felt tight, like I had swallowed something too large. My hands went cold even though the room was warm. I waited for her to say it was a mistake. She didn't. I walked out with my coat still half open, and by the time I reached the porch, I was already wondering what would happen if I stayed dead. My name is Erin Blake. I was 32 and living in a one-bedroom apartment above a pawn shop in Mason Falls. A town people only remembered when they needed gas. I had always been patient. The kind of man who waited for others to decide my place. I worked as a billing clerk at a small medical clinic, correcting numbers all day while pretending my own life still added up. The morning after she told me I was dead, I woke before sunrise. My phone alarm hadn't gone off yet, but my body felt like it had been shaken from the inside. The ceiling above my bed had a dark watermark shaped like a crooked heart. I stared at it until my eyes burned. My chest hurt, not sharp, but heavy, as if someone had placed a weight on me while I slept. I rolled onto my side and reached for my phone without thinking. My thumb hovered over my mom's name. That's when I remembered her voice from the night before. "You're dead to me now." My stomach twisted. I dropped the phone onto the mattress like it had stung me. I shuffled to the kitchen. The floor was cold on my bare feet. My coffee maker made a choking noise before dripping out something that smelled more like burnt paper than coffee. I drank it anyway, standing by the small window that looked down at the pawn shop sign. A man was unlocking the front gate, keys clanking. Life was starting again without asking if I was ready. At work I moved through the day like a ghost. The computer screen glared at me. My fingers felt thick, slow, like they didn't belong to me. A coworker named Denise leaned over the divider. "You okay, Erin? You look pale." "I'm fine," I said, though my throat felt dry, like I had swallowed dust. Around noon my sister posted photos on social media. Her kids in the backyard. My mom in the background holding a juice box, smiling wide. I zoomed in on her face until the image blurred. She looked happy. Not relieved, not sad, just happy. My shoulders slumped forward without me noticing. It felt like my body was folding in on itself. That evening, I went to her house anyway. Habit pulled me there more than hope. The porch light was on even though it was still light outside. I rang the bell. She opened the door but didn't step aside. Her eyes flicked behind me, checking the street like she was making sure no one important was missing. "What do you want?" she asked. The inside of the house smelled like onions and meat. My mouth watered even though my stomach was tight. "I just wanted to talk," I said. "There's nothing to talk about," she replied. "I told you what I needed to tell you." Her hand stayed on the door edge, ready to close it. I could hear my sister laughing in the living room. Someone had the TV on loud. A child squealed. "I thought you didn't mean it," I whispered. The words felt embarrassing as soon as they left my mouth. She sighed, eyes drifting upward. "Erin, you've always taken things too personally. You need to grow up." The door closed an inch. Something inside me pressed hard against my ribs, like it wanted out. I felt heat rise into my face. My ears rang. "So I'm really gone?" I asked. She looked at me with a tired smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I have a family inside. Please don't make this harder than it needs to be." The door shut. I stood there longer than I should have. My reflection stared back at me in the glass, pale, mouth slightly open, eyes too big for my face. My hands were shaking. I shoved them into my pockets, feeling the thin fabric of my coat, realizing I had never felt so separate from a place I once called home. I walked back to my car in slow steps, each one heavier than the last. My heart beat hard in my ears. It felt like the world had tilted and I was sliding out of it. And as I drove away, a thought crept in that scared me more than her words. If I was already dead to her, what was the point of proving I was alive? I used to believe my mom and I were close. Not warm, not soft, but steady. She wasn't the kind who hugged much, yet I thought that when it mattered, she would stand with me. Looking back, I realized she had been stepping away for years while I stayed in place, waiting for her to turn around. The changes were small at first. She stopped calling me first. Then she stopped asking how work was going. When I spoke, she nodded without really hearing, eyes already searching the room for someone else. Every visit left me more tired than the last. Like I had run a race that no one else could see. The first real crack happened 2 years ago at a family barbecue. My sister had just announced she was buying a bigger house. Everyone clapped. My mom hugged her so tightly I thought she might cry. I stood there holding a paper plate with a burger growing cold on it. Someone asked me how I was doing. I opened my mouth to answer, but my mom spoke over me. "Aaron's still figuring things out," she said with a laugh. "He's always been slower than the rest of us." People smiled politely. I felt my cheeks burn. My heart thudded hard in my chest, like it wanted to push the words back into my mouth. Later that day I pulled her aside in the kitchen. "Why did you say that?" I asked. She didn't even look at me while wiping the counter. "Say what?" "You made me sound like I can't handle my life." She shrugged. "If it bothers you, maybe you should try harder." That was the first painful realization. I stood there with my palms damp, my shoulders hunched, and understood she didn't see me as a person with struggles. She saw me as a problem that refused to solve itself. The second one came last winter. My uncle passed away and left a small amount of money for the family. Not much, but enough to help me clear some debt. I wasn't expecting miracles. I just hoped for fairness. We sat around my mom's dining table. Papers spread out like we were playing a game no one explained the rules to. My mom read the letter out loud, voice calm and neat. When she finished, she folded it and placed it in her purse. "So how will it be divided?" I asked. She blinked at me, as if surprised I had spoken. "I'll handle that." Weeks passed. Nothing came. When I finally asked her, she waved a hand. "Oh, I gave it to your sister. She needs it more. You don't have children." My stomach dropped. "But, it was for all of us." She tilted her head. "You live alone. You'll manage." I didn't argue, I couldn't. My throat closed and all I could feel was heat in my face and pressure behind my eyes. That night in my apartment, I paced from the couch to the window over and over. My hands sweating, my chest tight, replaying her words. "You'll manage." That was when I realized she had been rewriting the story of my life without me in it. From then on, the erasing sped up. Family dinners stopped including me. When I showed up uninvited, she looked annoyed, like I had misunderstood a sign on the door. She forgot my birthday again. She introduced me to new neighbors as her daughter's brother, not her son. Each time I told myself to be patient. Don't make trouble. Don't seem needy. But something inside me was shrinking. My shoulders curved inward, my sleep broke into pieces. I would wake in the night with my heart racing, feeling like I had been called for something urgent, and then abandoned halfway there. The final betrayal came quietly, like everything else she did. I received a letter from a lawyer about my grandmother's estate. My name was nowhere on it. Only my sister and my mom were listed as beneficiaries. I stared at the paper until my eyes hurt, then drove straight to my mom's house. She answered the door already annoyed. "What now?" she said. "I was cut out," I said, holding the letter up. My fingers were numb. Grandma wanted me included. She took the paper and handed it back. She changed her mind. She told me she was old. My mom snapped. Then she caught herself and softened her tone. "You need to stop clinging to the past, Aaron." My heart pounded so hard I could feel it in my throat. "Did you tell her to remove me?" She stared at me for a long second. I could hear my sister inside, laughing with the kids. "I did what was best for this family," she said at last. That was it, no apology, no explanation. I drove home gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles hurt. My hands were shaking. My legs felt weak when I climbed the stairs to my apartment. I sank onto the edge of the bed, head in my hands, breathing shallow like I had forgot to do it properly. She hadn't just taken money. She had taken my place. And I had the sudden, sickening feeling that she had been planning my disappearance for much longer than I ever knew. 3 days after my mom told me I was dead to her, I received an email from her. My heart jumped the second I saw her name on the screen. My fingers went cold, and I had to wipe my palm on my jeans before clicking it. Subject: family meeting, attendance required, no greeting, no softness. The message was short. "We will be meeting this Saturday at 3 p.m. at my house to discuss final family arrangements. You are expected to attend. Do not be late. Final arrangements." The words buzzed in my head all afternoon. Every time I tried to focus on a spreadsheet, the screen blurred and the room felt too small. My shoulders tightened. My jaw ached from clenching it without noticing. Saturday came with a gray sky and air that smelled like rain. I sat in my car outside her house for a full 5 minutes, staring at the door. My chest felt hollow, like it had already been scraped clean. Inside, everyone was seated like this was a board meeting. My mom at the head of the table. My sister beside her, arms crossed. A man in a suit I didn't recognize sat with a folder open in front of him. "You're late," my mom said, tapping her watch. I checked my phone. I was exactly on time. The suited man stood. "I'm Mr. Hensley, the family attorney. We're here to clarify the redistribution of assets following your grandmother's passing and to confirm beneficiaries." My ears rang. I shifted in my chair. The wood hard against my legs. He read names: my sister, my mom, accounts, property. I waited. My pulse thudded in my neck. The list ended. "That's it?" I asked. My mom folded her hands. "Les, what about me?" My voice sounded thin, like it didn't belong to an adult. She looked at me with polite boredom. "There is nothing for you." My chest tightened. "You invited me just to tell me that." "I invited you so you wouldn't cause trouble later," she replied. "It's cleaner this way." My sister didn't meet my eyes. My stomach rolled. I pressed my feet flat on the floor, trying to ground myself, but the room felt unreal. Like I was watching from behind glass. "So I'm not part of this family at all anymore?" I asked. My mom tilted her head. "You chose this path when you refused to grow up." The meeting ended with chairs scraping back. I walked out last, ears buzzing, heart hammering. On my phone in the driveway, I saw a new notification. My mom had already removed me from the family group chat. The screen looked naked without my name. And in that moment, something inside me stopped pleading. That night I didn't sleep. I lay on my bed staring at the ceiling fan, watching the shadow of its blades crawl around the room. My legs felt restless, like I had electricity running through them. Every few minutes I sat up, rubbed my face, then lay back down, as if repeating the motion might reset my thoughts. It didn't. My mom's voice kept replaying in my head. "There is nothing for you. You chose this path." My chest felt tight, like I was breathing through fabric. I rolled onto my side, hugging a pillow, but the emptiness inside me was louder than the quiet of the room. The apartment creaked as if it was tired of holding me. I got up and paced from the couch to the window. The street below was empty, wet from a light rain. The pawn shop sign flickered. My reflection in the glass looked thinner. Shoulders curved inward, eyes dull. I tried to remember the last time my mom had touched my arm, in a way that wasn't correcting or pushing me aside. The memory wouldn't come. Instead, I saw myself at 10 years old, standing in the school hallway with a drawing in my hand. I had made it for her. She glanced at it, said "That's nice," and walked away because my sister was crying somewhere else. My throat tightened. My hands felt warm and shaky. I pressed my palms against the cold glass of the window just to feel something solid. Another memory came. I was 16, sick with the flu. Home alone while she took my sister to a sports tournament. I lay on the couch listening to the clock tick, feeling invisible even in my own house. The anger didn't explode, it seeped. I went back to bed, then sat up again. My heart beat too fast. My legs ached from pacing. I grabbed my phone and scrolled through old messages. Threads that ended years ago. Photos of family dinners where I was at the edge of the frame, half cut out. Around 3 a.m. I found myself standing in the kitchen, staring into the fridge without seeing anything. My stomach growled, but I had no appetite. My hands were cold even though the room was warm. I whispered out loud, "What did I ever do to you?" The words echoed softly off the cabinets. No answer came. I thought about sending her a message. A long one. One that explained how much she had hurt me. I typed 3 lines, then deleted them. My fingers trembled. My shoulders sagged like they were tired of holding me up. That was when it hit me. She wasn't confused. She wasn't mistaken. She had decided my place, and it was nowhere. The realization didn't feel dramatic. It felt heavy. It settled into my bones. I sank into a chair and closed my eyes, breathing slow until the pressure in my chest eased just a little. When the sun finally came up, the light felt rude. My eyes thrummed. My head throbbed. I stood in the shower letting hot water hit my shoulders until my skin tingled. For a second I imagined it washing something away. But the feeling stayed stuck. At work I made mistakes for the first time in years. Numbers blurred. I typed the wrecked myself, my face heating with embarrassment. Denise asked again if I was okay. I nodded even though my jaw hurt from clenching it all day. That evening I didn't go home right away. I drove past my mom's street without slowing down. My hands shook on the steering wheel. my heart pounding like I was breaking some law of nature. At a red light I caught my reflection in the mirror. My eyes looked different. Not sad awake. All those years of patience had not earned me kindness. They had taught her I would accept anything. I pulled into my apartment parking lot, and sat in the car long after turning off the engine. My legs felt weak when I finally stepped out. The air was cool, it smelled like wet pavement. Inside, I leaned against the door and slid down until I was sitting on the floor. My breathing was loud in my ears. I pressed my forehead to my knees, feeling the hard bone there. Grounding myself. For the first time in my life, I didn't think about fixing things. I thought about leaving them broken. And in the quiet of that small room, with my heart still racing and my body worn thin from not sleeping, I made a decision that felt strange but steady. I wasn't going to beg anymore. The morning after I decided to stop begging, my body felt sore, like I had been carrying something heavy for miles. My shoulders ached. My eyes were gritty. But there was a thin line of focus in my head that hadn't been there before. I started with paper. I pulled out an old box from under my bed. The one where I had stuffed anything that didn't fit anywhere else. Receipts, greeting cards, folded letters. The smell of dust made my nose itch. My fingers were stiff as I sorted through it on the floor. I found birthday cards from my grandmother. Inside them were small notes in her shaky handwriting. Love you always, Aaron. Forget you matter. My throat tightened. I had to sit back on my heels to steady myself. Then I remembered something else. 2 years ago, my grandma had asked me to help her scan documents for safekeeping. At the time I hadn't cared what they were. I had just plugged in the printer and done it. The files were still on my old laptop. It took me an hour to find the charger. My hands trembled while I waited for the screen to flicker on. The fan inside whined like it was annoyed to be awake. There it was. A folder named Estate Backup. Inside were drafts of her will, dated 6 months before she died. My name was listed alongside my sister's. Equal shares. My heart started beating harder. I leaned closer to the screen, reading it again and again, like it might change if I looked away. I wasn't erased. I was removed. I printed everything. The printer rattled, spitting out page after page. The sound filled the apartment, loud in the empty rooms. Next I checked my email history. I searched for my mom's name. It was painful. Scrolling through years of one-sided messages, me asking how she was, me checking in, her replies growing shorter, then stopping altogether. I highlighted the gaps. The dates that showed when I disappeared from her life. I even reached out to my grandma's old neighbor, Mrs. Keaton, who had once mentioned my grandma was upset about pressure from family. Calling her made my hands sweat. My voice shook. I don't want to cause trouble, I said. I just need the truth. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, your grandma didn't change that will on her own, honey. My stomach dropped. She didn't want to put anything in writing, but she told me about the visits. How my mom came over more often. How arguments drifted through the thin walls. How my grandma cried afterward. After that call, I sat on the edge of my bed staring at the wall. My legs felt weak, like they might give out. But this wasn't a movie. I didn't suddenly become brave or strong. The setback came fast. When I tried to get official copies from the lawyer's office, they told me I was not authorized. My mom had filed everything under her name. The receptionist's polite smile felt like a slap. My ears burned. My chest tightened. I had to step outside because I felt like I might pass out. I leaned against the brick wall, breathing shallow, trying not to cry in public. That night I called my sister. My voice was careful, tired. Did Mom tell you I was in Grandma's will? I asked. She sighed. Why are you doing this, Aaron? Just answer me. She said you didn't care about family anymore. My sister replied. That you wanted to be left alone. The words felt like they were pressing down on my lungs. So you believed her. Silence. Then, I don't want to be in the middle of this. The call ended. My phone felt heavy in my hand. I lay awake again. Staring into the dark, my muscles aching, my head buzzing. I had proof, but no access. Truth, but no doorway to it. For the first time since I started, doubt crept in. What if patience had not been my problem? What if courage was? And as I stared at the ceiling, listening to the building settle around me, I wondered how much longer I could hold everything together, before it all slipped through my fingers. The email from the lawyer came on a Tuesday afternoon when I was half asleep at my desk. I had sent him the scanned drafts from my grandma's old laptop the night before, not expecting anything. My hands went cold when I saw the subject line. Request for meeting, concerning estate discrepancies. I had to read it twice before my brain caught up. My legs felt weak as I stood. The office smelled like printer ink and disinfectant. I walked out without telling anyone where I was going. 2 days later we met in a small conference room above a real estate office downtown. The lawyer spoke carefully, his fingers tapping the edge of the table. These drafts are valid working documents, he said. They show a different intent than the filed will. What does that mean? I asked. My mouth was dry. It means your grandmother's final paperwork may not reflect her original wishes. Exposure came slowly. Not like a burst, but like a door being pushed open inch by inch. He contacted the estate court. A review was scheduled. Notices were sent to all beneficiaries, including my mom. The family reaction was immediate. My phone buzzed nonstop. My sister called first, her voice sharp. What are you trying to do? She demanded. I just want what was mine, I said, my hands shaking. Then my mom called. Her voice was calm, but there was something thin underneath it. This is unnecessary drama. Aaron, you're embarrassing yourself. I could feel my heart thudding in my chest. You told Grandma to remove me. That is a lie, she replied without pause. The hearing was held in a beige courtroom that smelled faintly of old carpet. My palms were slick with sweat. I kept wiping them on my pants. My mom sat 3 rows ahead of me, back straight, chin high. She didn't turn around once. The lawyer presented the drafts. He described the neighbor's account. He showed the email timeline where I had been cut out of family communication months before the will changed. My mom finally looked back at me. For a second her eyes were wide. Then her face settled into something smooth. When the judge asked her to speak, she stood slowly. Her heels clicked on the floor. She said, I was protecting my mother from pressure. From whom? The judge asked. She hesitated. Silence filled the room, heavy and awkward. My chest tightened so much I thought I might choke. I advised her. My mom said at last. I didn't force her. But the drafts were dated after those visits. The pattern was too clear. The judge ordered a formal review. That was when the family reaction changed. My sister didn't come near me in the hallway. My aunt shook her head at my mom. Whispers followed us out of the room. And then there was my mom. She stood near the exit, hands clasped, staring at the wall like she had misplaced something important. I walked past her without stopping. Outside the air was sharp and cold. My lungs filled with it too fast, making me cough. 2 weeks later the decision came. The will was revised, my name was reinstated. Not as punishment, not as victory, but as correction. My mom didn't call. She didn't text. She didn't show up at the follow-up meeting. Her lawyer spoke for her in a flat voice that carried no emotion. The last time I saw her was outside the courthouse. She was standing alone by the steps, purse hanging from her arm, like she had forgotten it was there. Her shoulders looked smaller. Her hair was out of place. I paused a few feet away. She didn't look angry. She didn't look defeated. She looked empty. Our eyes met. My chest felt tight, not with triumph, but with something like grief. She opened her mouth, then closed it. No words came out. I walked past her. Behind me, I heard her take a breath that sounded like it hurt. The money didn't arrive with fanfare. There was no check ceremony, no moment where everything suddenly made sense. One morning I just opened my banking app, and saw a number that hadn't been there before. I sat on the edge of my bed staring at the screen, until my eyes blurred. My heart wasn't racing, my hands weren't shaking. I just felt tired. I took the day off work and drove out of town, past the gas station. Past the grocery store where I used to run into my mom on Sundays. The road was empty and straight. Fields stretching out on both sides like they didn't care who I was. I parked near a small river I used to visit as a kid. The water moved slow, brown and steady. I walked down the bank, feeling the mud give slightly under my shoes. My legs were stiff from sitting in the car. My shoulders still carried the old tension even though was nothing left to fight. I thought I would feel relief. Or victory. What I felt instead was quiet. I remembered the way my mom used to brush my hair when I was little, careful not to pull too hard. I remembered how she held my hand crossing busy streets. Those memories didn't change just because everything else had. I sat on a rock by the water and closed my eyes. The sound of the river filled my ears. My breathing slowed without me telling it to. The tight band around my chest finally loosened a little. When I went back to Mason Falls that evening, I didn't pass her street. I turned the other way without thinking. The habit had finally broken. At home I started sorting through my apartment. Not with anger, just with attention. Old clothes went into bags. Stacks of paper were filed properly. The place felt lighter, like it was making space for someone new. I used part of the money to pay off my credit card debt. The confirmation email came in with a simple line: balance cleared. I leaned back in my chair and let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. A week later Denise stopped by my desk. "You seem different," she said. "How?" I asked. "Like you're standing straighter," she replied with a small smile. I hadn't noticed. But when she walked away, I realized my shoulders weren't slumped. My back didn't ache from holding myself together anymore. One evening my phone buzzed with a message from my sister. "Mom's not doing well, she barely leaves the house." I stared at the screen. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, then dropped to my lap. My stomach tightened, but it wasn't the old panic. It was just a knot that I could breathe through. I didn't reply. Instead I made dinner for myself. Something real. Chicken, rice, vegetables. The kitchen filled with the smell of garlic and oil. My hands moved steady. I ate at the small table by the window, watching the streetlights come on. I wasn't celebrating her silence. I was choosing mine. Later that night I lay in bed listening to the hum of traffic from far away. The ceiling fan spun slow, not frantic like before. My muscles relaxed one by one. Like they were finally getting permission. I didn't think about what she might be feeling. I thought about what I was. And that felt like enough. When my mom said I was dead to her, I thought the worst part would be losing her love. It wasn't. The worst part was realizing how long I had been living without it already. I spent years trying to earn a place that was never offered. I kept showing up. Kept explaining myself, kept shrinking so I wouldn't be in the way. I thought patience was the same as dignity. I was wrong. Distance didn't make me powerful. It made me clear. I learned that you can be surrounded by family and still be alone. And you can walk away from them and finally meet yourself. The nights that once felt unbearable are now just quiet. The rooms that echoed with questions now hold answers I don't need to say out loud. I don't feel strong. I feel steady. I still think about my mom sometimes. Not with anger. With a careful kind of sadness, the way you think about a house you grew up in that no longer stands. You don't try to rebuild it. You just remember where the windows used to be. Letting her believe I was dead wasn't revenge. It was survival. It was choosing to stop explaining my worth to someone who had already decided it. If there is any truth I carry now, it's this. You don't reclaim your life by taking something from others. You reclaim it by finally standing where you were always meant to be, in your own skin, without asking permission.